Hello, everybody. My name is Jenna Barron. I'm news editor of SD Times. I'd like to welcome you to episode 1 of the SD Times live microwebinar series with the secrets management provider Doppler. Today, we're going to be going over an overview of what secrets management is and why it's necessary for developers. With me to discuss this is Brian Vallelunga, CEO of Doppler. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Super excited.
Yeah, we're glad you could join. So, as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about secrets management. So, I think a good place to start would be to define what a secret is in the context of developers, and then we can get into how to protect those secrets.
Yeah, I think that's a great starting place. So I think the first thing to note is that for developers is that they use secrets every day, all the time, and probably don't even realize it. Anytime that they're touching an environment variable or some piece of configuration or an API key, a database URL, anything that would be generally sensitive or configure your application is widely considered as a secret. So if you have environment variables, you have a .m file or API keys or database URLs, you're probably using secrets on a daily basis.
So, why is it important that developers are managing these secrets in a secure fashion?
Yeah, great question. Um, I think it largely comes down to that these secrets are the literal keys to your company's data kingdom. And so if like the way I kind of like to think about it is like I'm a regular user and you're a regular user and everyone else on this call is a regular user of a set of apps like Uber, Venmo, PayPal, and so on. And all these services that we trust, we give them our data and they store that data on our behalf. And a lot of that data we probably wouldn't want out in the public for privacy reasons. And secrets are one of the main things that protect the everyday person's data from getting out in the wild. Secrets are the keys to the kingdom in a way. And so protecting those keys is super important. You can't really protect a user's data if you're not protecting the keys to the lock. And that's why it's so critical. And a lot of these secrets, especially in local development, they may look like just development secrets that aren't necessarily sensitive, but they may open up other things that do have access to sensitive material in it, or have data tucked away in their own systems that are quite sensitive. So, like a lot of times, we'll see companies take a copy of their database every night and use that for local development, so that they can test on like production data that won't impact production users. And this is a great example of that data is still there. It's still sensitive. And if that dev secret ever got out, it'd be a really big deal. It'd be a huge breach for that company. And so I think that's why it's so important to protect these secrets is because at the end of the day, we as shareholders of these companies and stakeholders of these companies are charged with protecting that data.
I know there are a number of different methods that developers can use to store secrets, some better than others, some way worse than others. So, can you kind of explain the different ways that developers might be trying to manage all these secrets?
Yeah, I would say that there's usually, I would say, four ways that developers store secrets. The first is by far the worst, which is storing it in code. So they'll literally have like the secret in code instead of using an environment variable. And the problem with that is A, that secret is available for everyone to see, so there's no more access controls. Um, and two, it's stuck in Git history, meaning even if you remove that secret, it's still in the underlying history. So if that repo ever got open sourced, this is actually one of the biggest ways that secrets get breached is uh, developers add it to code in the early days. They don't change those secrets. Those secrets are the same for years and years. All of a sudden, the company's like, we want to open source this repo that we've been building for a long time. They do, and in that history is the secret. And now that secret's out, and a whole ramification of things happen afterwards. So that's the worst. The second is they're using .m file. So this would be a separate file that's not checked into the code base, but it's still a file that has secrets on disk. And so there's a lot of risk with that. Well, where are you sharing those files? Now, every place that you share that file could accidentally have a leak, right? And or breach and expose those secrets. And there's also a lot of productivity issues, right? If I have, imagine the days before Notion Docs and Google Docs, where we're both working on a document together, and I have this document, you have a document, and 10 other people do, and we're all changing that document in real time, and then sharing those updates over Slack or email. That can lead to some pretty weird states where nobody knows whose document is the right document, and that's exactly what happens with the ENV files all the time. Plus, the security risk of every time you share that with your coworkers, you're creating a chance for a data breach to happen. The third is homebrew tools. So this is when companies usually get big enough where they're like, we have achieved some level of success in the company. Now we need to protect that success, especially as we start to grow. And they'll build tools usually with like a KMS offering. So a KMS offering is a key management system, and like from Google or AWS, and they'll take that and then their system will manage the encryption by itself. So they take the key, they encrypt it, and they built a whole bunch of internal tooling. The problem with that is that usually they build it for the moment in time. So as the company grows, so does the needs of that tool that they built, and so they have to constantly maintain it and update it, and that can create quite a lot of outages we usually see for companies, especially when they're growing really, really fast. Um, and then the last one, which I think is our large preference and stance as a secrets management company, is to use a secrets manager. Secrets manager. Now that doesn't have to be Doppler, but you should use some platform or product dedicated to managing secrets, and will scale with you as your needs do. So those are the kind of like four different paths people and companies can take.
Mhm. Can you talk a little bit more about the specific benefits of implementing that fourth option?
Yeah. Um, so right off the bat, you're going to get really strong encryption. This is super important because at the end of the day, that's one of the key measures that you can put in place to protect your secrets. The other is that the right secrets managers, Doppler and a couple others in the space, have a lot of tooling set up so that it integrates directly in your infrastructure. So instead of having to copy and paste things all over the place, you could change a secret and then create like a pull request and say, okay, I want this to get approved to go into production. And then it'll automatically get rolled out into your production infrastructure or get synced with every developer on the team, kind of like in Dropbox does with files. And so you have a lot of real-time sync and productivity tooling built into it. So it's kind of like the way I like to think about a good secrets manager is that it makes vegetables taste like candy, right? Vegetables being the security, candy being the developer productivity.
And before we end here, are there any like best practices for secrets management that you can share?
Yeah, I'd say there's like three questions I would ask anyone that's in charge of managing secrets or uses secrets to see if you have a problem. First and foremost, the three questions, and this is like your sniff test. Do you know where all your secrets are? Because if you don't know where all your secrets are, you can't possibly protect all your secrets, right? So if they're scattered across developers' laptops, infrastructure, code, or wherever, you don't really have this complete picture. The second question is, do you know who has access to those secrets and when? And can you control who has access to those secrets? So kind of like all under the umbrella of permissioning and auditing. Because again, if you can't control who has access and you don't have a report of who has access, you don't really know what's going on with your secrets. Again, the keys to the digital kingdom. And lastly, if a data breach does happen, the worst case scenario does happen, can you stop it? Can you remediate the breach? And if you can't answer those three questions confidently, then you definitely need a secrets manager. It doesn't have to be Doppler. I prefer it would be, but you don't have to use Doppler, but you definitely need something.
Mhm. Great. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, you can watch a replay of this video on sdtimes.com. It should be available within about 24 hours. Again, this was Brian Vallelunga, CEO of Doppler. And if you want to learn more about Doppler, you can head to their website, doppler.com. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.